Bryan, better come to you first of all. Did you enjoy the movie? BR. I've got to say yes, don't I? It's been a great 18 months, people have put a lot of hard work into, especially with COVID. Getting around all the protocols so we could get all the fantastic interviews that we've got on there. It was brilliant, even looking through the years of being a kid and then when I went to West Brem. So looking back at them years and going through it brings loads of memories that you've totally forgot about, and you start looking through the record books. And Alex, how big a factor in your success at Old Trafford was this man? AF. Well, he was easily the best captain I'd had. I think over the period he was at United, he was the best player. I was unlucky that I got Bryan at the tail end of his career, you know. Coming into his 30s. As was pointed out in the movie, he had 3 broken legs, shoulder injuries, there's a bit of a sudden cut here. That's your life story up there. You're a quiet human being and seeing all that up there, going through it in front of your eyes. What are your emotions when your life gets laid out in front of you in 90 minutes? BR. So going to Newcastle with my dad to watch when I was a kid, just having the dream that you wanted to be a footballer. But then when the scout comes to the house and invites you to a club, then that's brilliant. Then you get involved within the game, you know, so those are great moments. But then when you start winning things, for me, that was really important. That's why I wanted to leave West Brem. We had fantastic teammates, great moments of winning things, great celebrations when the boss would allow us to do that, but then even going on to manage. It's different because you're putting a team together, so some of the success is there when you get to a cup final, even though we've never won anything. But putting the team together and achieving something like that, those are special moments. The OBE of Buckingham Palace, receiving something like that from the Queen, was a fantastic day out for all the family. You say this player is your greatest ever captain. What made him your #1 captain and your leader on the pitch? AF. The players loved him. They responded to him and he was the longest serving captain in my time anyway. It's difficult for a captain because sometimes he has to tell the truth to players, you know. The encouragement he's got to give them sometimes can be quite volatile, and he was like that, but the players did love him. They appreciated the time he took on them, and another thing, he's the only captain I knew who could make a decision on the pitch. He didn't need to look over to me. He would do that, and that's unusual. In fact, it's very unusual, because he had the balls to do that. BR. It wasn't just you, boss, but it was also big run when we were playing in the FA Cup final against Everton. When Kevin Moran got sent off, I felt I had loads of energy in that game, and so Ron shouted over to me, "Robbo, you go to centre half." I could just about hear, and I said, "No. Big Frank Stapleton. He does great when he goes back to centre half. I want to use all my energy up in midfield." Well, we got to half time in extra time and thankfully we hadn't conceded a goal. But Ron came in and said, "I'll tell you what, I'm quite happy that Frank's doing a job at centre half so he can stay there and you can stay in midfield." I got away with that one, but if anyone scored, I think I might have had my head ripped off. You've written books on leadership, is that something you can learn and craft? AF. I've only read one book on leadership, it was Vince Lombardi, and I think that was a fantastic book on the sports side of life. I'm not really into reading people on leadership, but I think, without question, and I look at myself and I look at Bryan, I think we were born with it. There's no question about that. There's no doubt in my mind about that. I agree with Bryan. When I was at school, I did the exact things Bryan is talking about. I bullied players and I wanted to be captain, you know. I think people who have that determination and desire, not just to do well, but to lead well, you might not be the captain of your team, but you're leading them. I was a big like that. Bryan is exactly the same person. Bryan, do you feel like you helped the boss here, particularly in those earlier years when he didn't hit the ground running? BR. I think you try and help the boss, because you want to help your teammates, you want to help yourself. That's what it all comes down to. A great team spirit means you're going to be better as a group of players, rather than as individuals. I always felt, even from my West Brom days, I could see what a really good, strong team we had. But we had a great camaraderie, and that's what I wanted to take into Man United when I signed for them. It's great when a group of players can get on well together, go out and enjoy each other's company, and you have that side of it, as well as on the football pitch. I think it helps you as a team. When Sir Alex arrived, he didn't do too much for your social life, did he? You had to change things a little bit, AF. Naming no names. Laughs BR. It's like the boss says, I was starting to get towards the end of my career and all that, so I knew if I wanted to prolong my career, I was going to have to cut down on the drink. A couple of pints never did you any harm, laughs. The boss was a bit of an influence, but I still used to have my moments with Whiterside, AF. I'd been in Aberdeen and we didn't have that problem. Aberdeen's a village, you know. It doesn't mind where they're going, I know where they are. I think it was just my determination to make Manchester United great again. It wasn't an easy time. At that time when I went in, we hadn't won the league for nearly 20 years and it was another 6 years before we won it. I think you have to take the steps that led you to do that. The other thing about United at that time is it was quite an old team. The thing about football is that if a team's been there a long time and hasn't won anything, how many challenges can they go again? I don't think they can go many. I said that to the chairman at the time, so the process from that moment in time was to try to change it bit by bit and get younger, fresher players. On a footballing point of view, people would always ask you what's your greatest game and 9 out of 10 would say Barcelona at Old Trafford. Interesting there, you picked a different game against Barcelona, BR. Yeah, I think sometimes people select your best games, or one of your best games, because you've scored a couple of goals. For me, I scored a couple of goals against Barcelona and I felt I had a decent game that night. But I don't know, the importance of the cup final in Barcelona in Rotterdam, I just didn't feel tired 1 second of the game. I just felt full of energy and then I helped Brucey score the first one and I helped Sparky score the second one. Laughs. AF. Did Sparky not get the 2 of them? BR. Yeah. I'm just making Steve happy tonight. But the game was a fantastic evening and it was important because we'd been out of Europe for 5 years at that time, so to go into that cup final and win it was a great achievement by the boss and all the lads.